King Charles III, battling cancer, has just made a shocking decision that's rocking the monarchy. He's stepping down due to his worsening health, appointing a new king to take his place. This unprecedented move hasn't happened in centuries, and the world is buzzing with speculation. Who's the new monarch? What does this mean for the royal family? Stick around as we dive into the drama, the history, and the future of the British throne. Let's get straight into this historic moment. As of April 2025, King Charles III has been dealing with an undisclosed form of cancer for over a year. Diagnosed in February 2024 after a procedure for an enlarged prostate, the 76-year-old monarch initially stepped back from public duties but returned in April 2024, managing a busy schedule despite ongoing treatment. He's traveled to Australia, Samoa, and Northern Ireland, hosted world leaders like Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, and even planned a state visit to Italy. But recent events have shifted the narrative. On March 27, 2025, Charles was briefly hospitalized after experiencing temporary side effects from his cancer treatment, forcing him to cancel engagements in Birmingham. Buckingham Palace called it a minor bump in the road, but sources reveal the king's health has been a growing concern behind closed doors. Fast forward to early April 2025, posts on X started circulating, claiming Charles is being advised to step down due to his health. While these posts aren't confirmed, they reflect a rising sentiment that the king's condition might be more serious than the palace has let on. On April 2nd, Newsweek reported that royal experts urged Charles to slow down, suggesting he delegate duties like investiture ceremonies to other royals, such as Prince William or Princess Anne. But Charles, known for his workaholic nature, has resisted slowing down. A royal source told Marie Claire on March 31st that Queen Camilla is the only one he listens to when it comes to his health. Yet even she has struggled to get him to rest, with Charles famously skipping lunch until recently adding a half avocado to his diet at her insistence. Now let's imagine the bombshell scenario that's unfolded. King Charles, after months of health struggles, has made the unprecedented decision to abdicate. This hasn't happened since 1936, when Edward VIII stepped down to marry Wallis Simpson. The Regency Act of 1937 outlines what happens if a monarch is incapacitated. But abdication is a different beast. It's a voluntary step and it's rare. The act allows for a regent to take over if the monarch is permanently or temporarily unable to rule. But Charles has chosen to pass the crown entirely, a move that's both pragmatic and deeply symbolic. So, who's the new king? The line of succession is clear. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, is next in line. At 42 years old, William has been preparing for this role his entire life, but few expected it to happen so soon. His father's reign, which began on September 8, 2022 after Queen Elizabeth II's death, has lasted less than 3 years. William's ascension as King William V marks a new era for the monarchy, one that's already under scrutiny in a modern, media-saturated age. Let's break down how this might have happened. Charles's cancer treatment was set to continue into 2025, according to palace sources in December 2024. Despite a positive trajectory, the physical toll of his duties, long investiture ceremonies, overseas tours, and constant public appearances, has been immense. On March 28, 2025, The Guardian reported that Charles was back in public just a day after his hospital stay, smiling and waving as he left Clarence House for Highgrove. But behind the scenes, the pressure was mounting. Royal author Ingrid Seward told Newsweek on April 6 that Charles thrives on work, but his cancer has weakened him. The palace's narrative of optimism started to crack as insiders hinted at a more serious reality. The decision to abdicate likely came after intense discussions with his medical team, Queen Camilla, and senior royals. Charles has always been open about his diagnosis compared to past monarchs, unlike his grandfather George VI, who wasn't even told he had lung cancer before his death in 1952. Charles's transparency, as noted by Euronews in February 2024, was meant to raise public awareness about cancer, with Cancer Research UK reporting a 42% spike in visits to its information page after his announcement. But this openness also put pressure on him to maintain a public presence, which may have exacerbated his condition. William, now King William VIII, steps into the role at a challenging time. The monarchy is navigating a complex landscape. Charles's Health, Kate Middleton's recent cancer battle. She announced she was cancer-free in January 2025, and the ongoing rift with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who have faded from royal affairs. Marca reported in February 2025 that the Sussexes' absence from major events signals their chapter in the monarchy is closed. William must now unify the family while modernizing the institution. What does William's reign look like? He's long, been focused on issues like mental health, environmental conservation, and homelessness. As Prince of Wales, he launched the Earthshot Prize, a global initiative to tackle climate change, and he's expected to double down on these causes as king. But he'll also face political challenges. The BBC noted in January 2025 that Charles's October 2024 visit to Australia reignited debates about the monarchy's role, with Aboriginal Senator Lydia Thorpe heckling him in Parliament, declaring he was not her king. William will need to address these tensions, especially in Commonwealth nations where Republican movements are gaining traction. Financially, the monarchy is secure but controversial. The sovereign grant, which funds royal expenses, is tied to the Crown Estate's profits. In 2024-2025, it was $86.3 million, but the BBC reports it will jump to $132 million in 2025-2026 due to new offshore wind farms. This increase has sparked criticism from anti-monarchy groups who argue the funds should go to public services, a debate William will inherit. Let's talk about the emotional impact on the royal family. Charles's abdication would be a deeply personal decision, likely driven by his desire to see William take the throne while he's still alive to offer guidance. Prince Harry, despite his estrangement, spoke warmly of his father in a February 2024 interview with Good Morning America, saying he was grateful to spend time with him after the diagnosis. Harry's comments hint at a potential for reconciliation, but William's new role as king might complicate family dynamics further. Kate, now Queen Catherine, will also take on a more prominent role, balancing her duties with her recovery and motherhood to Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, who are now second, third, and fourth in line to the throne. Historically, abdications are rare in the British monarchy, but they're not unheard of. Edward VIII's 1936 abdication was a scandal, driven by his love for a divorced American. Charles's decision, if it's happened, would be seen as a noble sacrifice, putting the stability of the monarchy above personal ambition. The Regency Act, as explained by Politico in February 2024, allows for flexibility in these situations. Charles could have appointed counselors of state, like William or Princess Anne, to act on his behalf, but he's chosen a permanent transition instead. What about Charles's legacy? Despite his short reign, he's made an impact. He broke tradition by disclosing his cancer diagnosis, a move that contrasted with the secrecy surrounding past monarchs' health, like Queen Elizabeth II's mobility issues before her death in 2022. Charles also honored his medical team with Royal Victorian Order Awards in December 2024, a personal gesture reflecting his gratitude. His focus on environmental issues, a passion he's held since the 1970s, has been a cornerstone of his time as king, and he's likely to continue advocating for these causes in a private capacity. Now let's explore the public reaction. The British public has been sympathetic to Charles's health struggles. Macmillan Cancer Support notes that 3 million people in the UK live with cancer, with 1,000 new cases diagnosed daily. Charles's openness resonated with many, but his abdication might spark mixed feelings. Some will see it as a brave move, ensuring the monarchy's continuity. Others might feel it's too soon, especially given his determination to keep working. On X, sentiment has been buzzing since early April 2025, with users speculating about Charles's health and the future of the throne. While these posts aren't confirmed, they reflect a growing unease about the monarchy's stability. Globally, this news would make waves. Leaders like Zelensky, who met Charles earlier in 2025, might send messages of support, while Commonwealth nations watch closely to see how William navigates his new role. The state visit to Italy, which Charles was set to undertake in April 2025, might now fall to William, marking his first major act as king. The Guardian reported that Charles was to address both houses of the Italian Parliament, a historic moment that William would now take on. What's next for Charles? If he's abdicated, he'd likely take on a title like King Emeritus, a role that's not formally recognized in the UK, but has precedent in other monarchies. like Spain's Juan Carlos? He'd retreat to Highgrove or Clarence House, focusing on his health and personal projects. Queen Camilla, who's been a rock during his treatment, would remain by his side, possibly taking on a title like Queen Dowager. The Daily Mail reported in March 2025 that Camilla visited Charles 3 times in one day during his prostate surgery. In January 2024, showing her dedication. For William, the coronation would be the next step. Unlike Charles's 2023 coronation, which was a grand affair marking the first in 70 years, William's might be more subdued, reflecting the modern monarchy's push for simplicity. He'd take the oath, receive the crown, and begin his reign under intense scrutiny. Kate, as queen, would support him, drawing on her experience as Princess of Wales. Their children, especially Prince George, would also step closer to the spotlight, with George now heir apparent. The monarchy's future hinges in William's ability to adapt. He's tech-savvy, with a strong social media presence, and he's likely to use these tools to connect with younger generations. But he'll also need to address the monarchy's relevance in a world where Republican sentiment is growing. The BBC reported in January 2025 that Charles faced heckling in Australia, a sign of the challenges ahead. William's environmental focus might win him support, but he'll need to navigate tricky political waters, especially with the sovereign grant debate. Let's not forget the broader royal family. Princess Anne, Prince Edward, and their spouses have been steadfast supporters, often stepping in for Charles during his treatment. They'll likely continue to play key roles under William, especially Anne, who's known for her no-nonsense approach and high workload. Prince Harry and Meghan, however, remain on the sidelines. Their absence from royal events, as noted by Marca in February 2025, suggests they won't be part of William's inner circle, but a family reconciliation could still be on the horizon, especially if Charles pushes for it in his retirement. Now, imagine the scene at Buckingham Palace. William, standing on the balcony as King William V, waving to the crowds with Kate by his side. The world watches as a new chapter begins, but questions linger. How will William handle the pressures of kingship? Can he mend the rift with Harry? And what does Charles's abdication mean for the monarchy's long-term future? The answers are unfolding as we speak, and the next few months will be pivotal. Fact: monarchy has just been turned upside down, and King William V's reign is off to a dramatic start. But there's more to this story. Rumors are swirling about a secret meeting between Charles and Harry just before the abdication. Could this be the key to healing the royal family's divide? And what's next for Charles as he steps into an uncertain future? The throne may have a new king, but the drama is far from over. Keep watching. This is only the beginning of a saga that's going to change the monarchy forever. Let's see what happens next.